All right. On behalf of the National Career Development Association, welcome to the NCDA webinar series. This session is titled Be Heard, Be Powerful, using FiscalNote and VoterVoice to advocate for client interests and shape policy. I'm Melissa Venable, NCDA Director of Professional Development, and just a couple of tips before we get started. Thanks again for your patience this morning. During the webinar, please keep your microphone muted. You may use the chat to share questions and comments. This webinar is being recorded, and the recording link will be posted on the NCDA website and YouTube channel, and I will also email out the link to the recording to all registered attendees. This program is approved for 1 hour of continuing education credit. So for NCDA members, that'll be automatically added to your record after this session. So now it is my pleasure to introduce Elle O'Flaherty. Elle is an executive coach, keynote speaker, founder of Interlace Solutions Coaching, and she's also currently a co-chair of NCDA's Government Relations Committee. Elle has more than 20 years of experience as a federal attorney and a trade negotiator, and we are so thrilled to have her offer this topic and to offer it for free. So Elle, thank you so much for being here, and I will turn the floor over to you.
Of course, and thank you so much for such a kind introduction, Melissa. It really is my pleasure to be here. And naturally, if you're going to have Zoom issues, it will happen while 50 people are waiting to hear from you. So again, I really apologize. Um, Please do, as Melissa said, use the chat. I'm going to be answering questions throughout, and I'll try to keep my eyes on the chat. Also, if I'm not answering your question, feel free to just come off mute and jump in because I really want this to be interactive. My goal is by the end, you should hopefully really feel empowered and able to start reaching out and advocating if you're not already, to understand what we are doing as NCDA and as the Government Relations Committee on our members' behalf, and to understand some of the tools that are newly available to us and to you and how to get more involved. So keep those questions coming. Right now, of course, there is a lot going on in the advocacy space and in the federal space in general. You may have heard about it. And so there's much to go over. Just as a reminder, we as NCDA are a nonprofit and nonpartisan organization. Due to our nonprofit status, it's very important that we remain nonpartisan. So we, as the Government Relations Committee, always take a nonpartisan look at what's going on, and I'll be presenting from that point of view. So I just wanted to make sure we understand that sort of as the legal ground rules to our work. Let me share my screen very quickly here. I hope you all will let's see here. There we go. I hope you all won't mind if I give you a very fast um, Your Government 101 return to 8th grade civics, just to make sure that we all are on the same page. So I wanted to, here's our agenda, as I said. Advocacy basics are one of my top goals, introducing you to some of the tools that our board has very generously made available to us as members, to the work of the GRC, the Government Relations Committee, and how you can get more involved, as I said. Here is NCDA's platform. I realize, first of all, this is very, very much boiled down. The full text is available on NCDA's website under the Government Relations and Advocacy tab on the website. This is very boiled down, but we do have 11 basic areas that we work on under NCDA's policy platform. So first, as you can see, it's employment opportunities and job market adaptability. So this includes things like skills retraining, making sure that there are opportunities out there for people, things like that. The second one is student career services. And this is sort of a larger basket that includes things having to do with both K through 12 and higher education. Anything that impacts like student access to internships or to apprenticeships, or just there's much that goes into this basket, as I know a lot of you know, but that is one of our areas. Then professional accreditation and certification standards. And this, we're just focusing on the accreditation for career development professionals. Accreditation for other industries is a bit beyond our scope. But in this one, we're just looking within our own industry, and we have advocated in a few different areas for the accreditation of career development professionals, the requirement of that accreditation, or strongly maybe not requirement, but strongly pushing for it, and of course for NCDA's accreditations. The next one is access to professional development. And again, that's professional development for career development professionals. So things like including in grants or other appropriations that some of the funding should go for continued education for the career development professionals who are delivering services under those grants, for instance. Then, of course, broadly, workforce development and education, which is a huge basket, equal opportunity and inclusion. Special populations, which that can include veterans, people who are returning from incarceration, lots and lots of different folks who fall under this group. Mental health and career development, including trying to make sure that people have access to some of those resources. Funding for research and innovation. And here I'm talking about funding for career development professionals, sort of the research and innovation when it comes to career theory, things like that. Small business development, because of course many of our members are in private practice and are small business owners. And then finally, data privacy and ethical compliance. And there's a lot going on in the data privacy space right now, some of which can have some implications for our members and for us. And so that's something that we try to keep an eye on as well. Now, here's where we get back to Schoolhouse Rock. I'm just a Bill, and please forgive me again. This is probably a review for most of us, but of course, our Constitution sets out three branches of government: the legislative, executive, and judicial. And they're set out that way so that we can have checks and balances on each branch's power, meaning that each branch only holds certain powers and the other branches can kind of check that power with some of their actions and decisions. Right now, what we're mostly looking at is the legislative branch. And of course, that would be our two chambers of Congress, the House and the Senate. They're the ones who are the policymakers. They are writing bills and laws. They're amending laws that are in place. And so those are the kinds of things that the GRC keeps tabs on. We're looking at new bills that are being introduced, appropriations or the money that the Congress is giving for programs, very important, and keep an eye on what's going on there. And by advocacy, we're hoping to influence by either supporting or opposing legislation, or at times even proposing maybe new bills or language that could be added to bills. The executive branch is the government and all of the executive agencies, so all the departments and agencies. They're the ones that enforce the laws. One thing that's often overlooked is that when the Congress writes bills, they're often very, very broad. And so when they get to the executive branch for enforcement, that's a lot of times that's really where the rubber meets the road. Because of course, the agencies and departments get to write the regulations that are the rules that spell out how things are actually going to go in a lot more detail. And that can really move the needle on how programs and other things are implemented. And so we've started looking as an organization at the rulemaking process, which has several touch points where we can submit comments or we can make suggestions. And we've been doing that to hopefully have some of these programs be developed and the rules around them developed in a way that makes sense and is appropriate for us and for our clients or students. Um, Judicial, we largely haven't gotten into. That would be a much bigger kettle of fish, but of course it sits out there to determine whether or not rules and statutes and rules are legal and constitutional. So that's our quick crash course. I just want to make sure we're all kind of working on the same page here. When we go each year, NCDA goes to Capitol Hill to meet with some of our members of the House and Senate. And this is just an overview that I like to give people about the legislative process and how it works. It is very complicated, I'm not going to lie. But it's important to understand that bills will be brought in the House and in the Senate. There'll be separate bills, and sometimes the text is quite different. And if they pass both chambers, then they often need to come together in a process of reconciliation. And that's where also significant changes can happen. So that's what this is showing here, along with the president's ultimate responsibility to sign or veto laws. And so we won't get into all of this, but just good to know kind of where things are happening. Also good to know is within each office of each member of Congress. This is just an org chart up here at the top left that kind of explains who's who in the office. And you'll find this is often similar both on the federal level and the state. So if you are doing advocacy work on the state level, it's good to understand who the players are and what their circle of influence is, basically. Typically, after the member of the House or Senate, the most important person in the office is the chief of staff. After that, you'll see that there are legislative directors, legislative assistants who will have in their portfolio the specific issue or the bill that you're advocating for. And then that is the person that you will most likely meet with. Particularly on the federal level, it's very challenging, especially for an organization of our size, to meet with a member. Most likely, we would meet with their staff, which is often for folks who are new to the process a little surprising, especially for legislative assistants. These folks are often quite young, but they really are very influential and knowledgeable. And so these are the folks that we are trying to persuade to our argument. Um, these are some best practices for advocacy work. If you all at the state CDAs are going and meeting with some folks at your state legislative level, just some best practices to know. And I'm not going to go through all of these, but basically the idea is be organized and come with a message. You always want to come with a message of what you'd like this person to do. So pass this important piece of legislation, block this piece of legislation, why you want them to do that, and why it matters to them. Of course, every member, both at the federal and state level, needs to get reelected. So the most important thing that they care about is that what their constituents think, because those are the folks who will vote for them or not. And so when we as NCDA come and lobby members of the House or Senate, we like to remind them how many members we have in their state or congressional district. That could be a powerful thing that you can do on the state level. And we also like to bring stories of how people are being affected in their state or district. So we have this year's Hill Day for the larger NCDA organization is going to happen in the fall. And you will see us come out with a request for stories from our members about how they, their clients, their students are being impacted by some of these programs or other pieces of legislation, because we want to take those stories and deliver them to your representation in Congress. And it's much, much more powerful if it's coming from you, a constituent, than if we're just saying this is a problem nationwide. So always, there's a very famous saying that all politics is local, which is absolutely true. So always make sure that you are bringing the story down to the specific people that that member represents. Um, oh, let's see. Why? Oh, let's see if we have any questions. Yes, you can have absolutely a copy of these PowerPoints. I'm very happy to. I have to admit, I made a very short PowerPoint this time because I do want to go ahead and show you some of the neat tools that we have. So no problem. All right, I think that's the end of my slides there. So if we have any questions, as I said, put them in the chat or just jump in. I'm going to stop sharing. I'm gonna, sorry, share another thing here on my screen. Can you all see my, let's see, I'm just gonna share my web page real quickly, and I do apologize. This is the morning of technical frustrations, so please hang in with me. Um, I'm just gonna share, here we go, my web page. One of the important things that I really want to show you is a great new tool that we have called FiscalNote. This is FiscalNote. I have a few pages open. Sometimes it's a little bit of a challenge to open quickly. But FiscalNote is a great tool that we got the budget from our board to have this year. It's actually a professional level advocacy tool. It's what many of the lobbying firms here in DC use. And I'll show you some of its capabilities and why it's so great. So FiscalNote allows us to, in real time, see what's going on with any piece of legislation. It also allows us to track the things that we're interested in and to send reports out to anyone who we want to receive them. You're going to hear more about that in a minute. But for instance, here's a keyword that's important to all of us: workforce development. And when I put that into FiscalNote, I get these really interesting charts of showing the status and the legislation type of anything having to do with workforce development. As you can see, there are 208 results right now. I have this limited to what's going on in the current active Congress. Um, and you'll see that there are all sorts of bills in here having to do with workforce development. Now, some of these we've decided are very important to NCDA. So, for instance, this amendment would amend the WIOA, the Workforce Innovation and Opportunity Act, that funds some of our members' work. And so we are following this one pretty closely to look at some of these amendments. And so when I click on this, it brings up even more information, and it's pretty amazing. It gives us all sorts of information, including, who's sponsored it. We can learn about the person who sponsored it. We can see the timeline of everything that's happened on this. It shows us the likelihood that it's going to pass or not pass, as well as this is where we are seeing who's in favor of it, who's leaning against it. So we can get tons of information on any piece of legislation. We can get this on any piece of legislation, federal or state. So if your state CDA is closely following something within your state, you can let us know and we can develop a report, or we can share the page on the specific bill with you so that you will have access to all of this information as well, which is pretty cool. Um, it also accesses information from like the Congressional Research Service for federal bills that has a summary. It often has an analysis. So there is so much information possible here. So much information, it can get a little overwhelming. So what we've done is we have, and hopefully we've made a couple of reports for our members. For instance, this is the monthly issues update for all things having to do with workforce development that we've identified as important. And we've boiled it down into 4 different areas of focus. So, for instance, education bills. Um, this is talking about, well, this one isn't a great example, but let me show you one. Scrolling down here to workforce development, this is for a grant program for students. And so this one we think is pretty important. We're following it. It'll give you an update on what's going on. And if you get this report, it's interactive. So you can click on the bill and see a lot more information on it. We've made reports like this, one that's weekly, so that you can get a weekly update on everything happening on the federal level, on workforce development, on schools, anything like that. We've had requests, for instance, from the International Students Committee. So we have a report that we've made just for them. And so every week they get an update on anything that could impact international students, like visas or higher education, all of those kinds of things. We've also made reports for instance, I'm in Washington, D.C., so I don't actually have a voting member of Congress, but the state closest to me, we made a report for them, for Maryland, showing all of the new things that have happened each week in the Maryland legislature. So our state CDA gets a report every week where they're up to date on what's going on, which they can then forward to their members, or we can even add whatever members you want. So it's really easy for us to create these reports and automatically send them out to anyone you want. If you sent me a list of all your members' email addresses, for instance, everyone could get it. So all you need to do if you're interested in getting a report like this on a specific topic, just reach out to me. I'm very happy to put the report together and automate it. And whatever information you might need, you'll have it. It'll be interactive and you can share it with anyone. So let me just check real quick and see if we have any questions. I must be so clear today because there aren't any questions yet. But again, please feel free and add any questions as we go along. So this is the first one, and I just wanted to show you that the capabilities on this are really vast. So not only do we have the ability to see information like in reports on the bills, we can also see things that are, just a second, hopefully this will come up. Just for instance, I'm pulling this up, even though it's not our issue. Um, there are also compendiums of information that we can have. So this is analysis on PFAS, which is a chemical that you don't need to doesn't matter for right now. But as you can see, it shows all the bills that are involved. You can make a status chart for the bills involved, all sorts of things. Um, this is another tool that we have access to called Congressional Quarterly. Um, and it allows us to do all sorts of cool things. Like we can research any issues. We can also look at members' information, which can tell us about what's going on. We can track legislation. I can also send you, and this is where things get a little weirdly stalkerish, I'm not going to lie, but I can send you an information sheet on any member, and it'll show things like what committees they're on. It'll have all of their staff's names and contact information. So if you wanted to do a letter writing campaign within your own state, I can get you any of that information, which is pretty cool. Um, which brings me to my next point. So I wanted to talk a little bit about how we advocate and sort of the steps to that process. Um, so the way that we advocate is really on a few different levels. As I said, members generally want to hear from their own constituents. And so sort of the first level of advocacy is an individual writing a letter or more likely an email saying, I really, love this piece of legislation. You should definitely support it. And those get tracked in each member's office. And this, when I was an intern about 1,000 years ago, was my job. We would get letters in, we'd have to input them all into the system. From what I hear, it is now very much standardized and automated. Thank goodness, it was a lot of work. But they basically count how many people are sending letters supporting or opposing, and that can influence what the member does. And so that can be very powerful. And those really are seen and read by people. They write this also used to be my job, writing a response to these letters and sending them back. And so any issue that they've taken the time to write a response to means that it's on their radar more than it otherwise would be. So that first level of writing a letter can be highly effective. What's even more effective is if you get a group of people interested in something. So maybe your state CDA agrees, hey, this is really important. We should pay attention to this bill. And the best way to get folks involved, your members and your state CDA, is to write a form letter that people can sign on to and easily, with one click or just one forward or whatever, easily send to their members of their state, House, and Senate, or Commonwealth, House and Senate, since I used to be from Virginia. And so that makes it really easy. People don't have to do a lot of work. And kind of the easier we make advocacy, the more likely we'll have people get involved. So I highly recommend that. Now, as a association that represents many members, we can also send notes and letters as an association, which is another thing your state CDA can think about doing, is sending a letter from your organization to some of these members of your House and Senate, either with the signature of your members or just as a group. I often recommend doing this in conjunction with a letter writing campaign where your members can send their own letters. Because again, if they are constituents from that state, House members, uh, what the area that they're representing, it's so much more powerful. So I really recommend that you do both at the same time. We as career development professionals also have such a good story to tell, because basically our entire, focus, all of our work can be boiled down to yay jobs, right? And you're going to be hard pressed to find someone who isn't in favor of yay jobs. And so when we're able to connect to that message and say, this program is very important, it connects young people to jobs, or it helps people to retrain, it helps veterans coming into civilian life, whatever it might be, if we're able to connect it to jobs, job security, higher paying, higher skilled jobs, things like that, that's a story that basically everyone supports and everyone wants to be a part of. And we call this really a white hat issue. That's an issue that everyone can get behind. And we're really lucky to have one of those. So it doesn't take a lot of persuading to get people on our side. So the more you can connect your message to stories from the front lines, because that's what we represent, stories from the front lines, numbers of jobs that it might support, and income to the state or revenue, anything like that, that's going to be really powerful because at the end of the day, that's what people care about. So thinking about how you can make your arguments in these ways is really powerful and helpful. Um, Especially, and you wouldn't think it would be as persuasive, but I really, really do recommend collecting stories from your members because those are the kinds of things that people remember. And if you can get people to make an emotional connection to an issue, you're going to be a lot more successful in your advocacy work. Okay, so that's the state level. Please remember that you're so welcome to reach out to me or to my co-chair, Sarah, and our information is on the Government Relations Committee part of the NCDA webpage. Reach out to us however we can help. If we can put together a report, if we can give you information, whatever you need, we're here to support you. We also have training materials on advocacy. They are geared towards the federal, but almost all of it will apply to the state level. We're happy to give you those as well, or to give your state CDA a training if you're interested. Or any of the NCDA constituency groups or committees. We've been reaching out and meeting with folks from different areas. So again, we want to work with you. The other thing is, if you're hearing from your members, or if you have an interest in an issue, or if you see a piece of legislation that's really important, please reach out to us. We are an all volunteer squad. And so, of course, we all have day jobs and can't be everywhere at once. But if something's important to you, it's important to us. So let us know, and we'll start following that bill as well and start working on it at the federal level. We're very happy to do that. A little plug for our committee also, if you want to join, we always want new members. So we'd love to have you join. Okay, so that is sort of the state level advocacy. Now let me tell you some more about what we're doing as the NCDA greater organization. And I'm going to share my screen again, because I want to show you another really neat tool that we have. We are just starting to implement this, so please forgive the sort of construction it might look like. But this is a dashboard. Oops, that's my dashboard. I lied. This is your dashboard that we are putting together as we speak. You can access this right now. This is the website, if you can see it up here, and I'm going to type it in the chat. It is I should have had this ready, sorry. VoterVoice.net /NCDA /home. I'm losing my words this morning, but it's in the chat. Feel free to go here at any time and you will start seeing more things populate. But one of the things that you can do right now, for instance, is you can put in your zip code to see who your officials and candidates are where you live. So if you wanted to figure out, hey, wait, who's my representative again? I want to contact them. Then you can put that in right here and you'll have all their information with one click. You can get that to pop up and write a note to them. You can also sign up for alerts. So if you're interested in getting some of these alerts on issues, if you're interested in getting any of our reports, things like that, just enter your email here and we will get that and we'll sign you up. Then also you can view and search for legislation, which is cool. This is sort of your way to access this tool. So if you wanted to look for yourself, which I hugely encourage, for workforce development or student visas or whatever the issue might be, just pop it in right here and you will be connected to our voter voice information. And so you can look for some of these things and let us know it's important as well. Now, as we populate this out some more, and as you can see, this is under construction, but we will have issues that will come up here. And if you're interested in supporting some of these issues, you can click on this. I don't know what it's going to look like. Forgive me, I haven't really set it up. Here we go. But you will see information for all of our letter writing campaigns. So when you click on one of them, this is where you'll see the information that we've put in. This will be a sort of boilerplate letter that we've put together, and you're welcome to edit. Then all you have to do really here is put in your name, your email, and just a couple other things here so we know that it's going to the right people. Then you click send message and it'll instantly send your letter to your representatives in the House and Senate so they know how you feel about this. This is the kind of place here in the message body, if you wanted to add maybe something you're seeing from your clients or students, or any sort of a personalization, it makes it much more powerful, and I really recommend that. So this will be coming online. Just want to let you know also that any issues that we put on here, by the time they get here, they have been vetted and we've gotten board approval, of course. So these will be the official NCDA positions on legislation. So please don't feel like we're just shooting from the hip. We have a whole process where we go through our committee and then the board before we'd ever ask you to send along a letter. But we would really love to have your support and doing some of these things. We're working on how to get the message out to our members best about this. And when we have sort of things that we need you all to do a letter writing campaign quickly on, and we're sort of figuring out how to do that best. So if anyone wants to give us some ideas there as well, please do let us know how you best like to receive information. Then on my end of Voter Voice, I'm going to show you how the sausage is made here just a little bit. This is the dashboard that for those of us who are working on this end of VoterVoice have. And you can see there's all sorts of information here about like um, the contacts that are in each state. And so for instance, I have all of the contact information for everyone from the federal and the state side and all the people who work for them in California. And so if you were trying to do advocacy in California and you were thinking, who works for whomever from the third state district or whatever you need, you can just let me know you want that information and I can send you a report with all of it, which is kind of cool. Um, Same with FiscalNote, of course. We have all of this information on stakeholders. We have alerts that we can set, which is pretty cool. Here are the reports that I just quickly wanted to show you. So for instance, here's some of the ones that we've been asked to put together. Let me show you the one for Ohio. And I believe this is a snapshot in time from January, so it's probably not up to date just yet. But oh, of course, it's not populating, sorry. But anyway, these reports are really, really neat, and I can do them for anything, as I said. So whatever information you want, I'm really happy to add in there. So you all have seen a bit about, we learned about what we can do as far as advocacy on the different levels on the state or federal, the state. Of course, also don't forget about local. If you happen to live in a city or in an area where you have local government, that is also can be really, really powerful. I will say that, as we all know, the federal government has the most money as far as funding goes. So for some of the bigger programs that we're trying to accomplish, it can be really important to make an impact on the federal level. Some of the biggest things that we're following right now, of course, are what's going to happen with the Department of Education, which is hard to know how that'll go or what will happen with appropriations that have typically run through DOE. So that's one thing we're looking at. We're also looking at the reauthorization of WIOA, which I mentioned. We're looking at what's happening with international students and with their visas, and lots of other things. So there is much going on. But if you would like to be a part of that real-time report of what's going on, definitely just reach out to us and let us know. I'm going to pause and see if we have any questions. Again, shockingly clear, no questions so far, which is wonderful, although please feel free to ask anything you like. So what do we see going forward into the future, and how can you help be the best advocate? So there are a few things that are going on. As far as how you can be the best advocate, we strongly encourage every state CDA to have a legislative affairs or similar position on your board. If your state CDA doesn't have that kind of a position, we encourage you to think about forming it and having someone run those efforts. Some of our state CDAs are really doing pretty amazing work on the state level as far as advocacy goes, particularly Ohio and I think it was Louisiana, I can't, or maybe Missouri, I can't quite remember, one of those two. But there are several states, I know California does, who are very active in advocating and lobbying their state House and Senate. We also like to have a point of contact from each state CDA. Typically, it would be the legislative affairs person or whatever you call that position. For the states who we haven't been told have that position, we just send information to the presidents of each state CDA. And so your president should be receiving information. They're likely receiving our weekly report at this point. And so they're receiving some of this information from FiscalNote and from us. So we encourage you also, if you would like any training on advocacy, we're happy to come to your meetings and work with your members and do that. Um, on the federal level, as an organization, we're having our Hill Day, which is when I said we go in, we fly in, meet with people on the Hill, on the House and Senate, and talk about what's important to us and to our members. We're having that in the fall. We are always open to new ideas and legislation that's important to our members. So feel free to let us know if there's something that you would like for us to advocate for or against as well. Also, all of our meetings as the Government Relations Committee are open to anyone. All of our Zoom links and the dates for our meetings are also on the NCDA webpage. So feel free to pop in and join us if you want to be a member or if you just want to pop in and raise an issue, you're very welcome. We will also be, as I said, sending out some alerts and letter writing campaigns through VoterVoice for our members. So you can expect to start seeing those come your way. Of course, everyone has to make their own decisions, and we might have a position as NCDA, but carefully read those and see if you want to support or oppose whatever it is that we're working on. But we would love to have more members get involved at the grassroots. As I said, if a member of Congress gets 100 letters on something, that really, really gets some attention. If they get 1,000 letters, even more. But we would love to have our members be as active as possible and helping to spread the word about what's important to us and in just, we very much represent the needs of our clients and students as well. And so spreading that message of what's going to support jobs, and as I said, our basic message, yay jobs, is a really powerful and positive thing. I'm going to pause here for a second. Oh, I see my co-chair Sarah is on. Sarah, please feel free to jump in if you'd like with any information, and maybe you can tell us a little bit about what Ohio is doing. There's certainly things that we can share with people from other states that might be helpful, if you don't mind me putting you on the spot. So Sarah, if you want to jump on, feel free.
Thanks, Elle. We in Ohio are focused very much on some particular bills that have been disrupting the higher ed space, removing DEI. So that's big in our world right now. But speaking to the other components of what you said, I'm the government relations representative on our CDA's board. And I just want to echo what Elle said, having a person who's exclusively focused on that in each state is so helpful because the tie-in with NCDA and the GRC committee, Government Relations Committee, and then also just being able to focus on legislative tracking. Last month, actually earlier this month, we did a legislative training for our committee, and just building that out is really helpful because there's so much that's happened. And I'm happy to be a resource for anyone who needs me from the state side as well. Thank you, Elle.
Thanks, Sarah. And take advantage of that. Really, she's done amazing things in Ohio. So I'm very happy to shove her to the forefront of volunteering to help with other states because it is so important. All right. Now I'd like to hear from you all. I'd love for us to do a little each one, teach one. What folks are doing at the state level. If you have any questions or suggestions, anything like that, I'd love to open the floor to a little bit of conversation. So please don't be shy. And what are some things you'd like to share or ask?
Hey Al, this is Jim Peacock. How you doing?
Great, good to see you.
Yeah. So one of the things that um I've tried to write an email on a regular basis, but I heard that a phone call is even more powerful. I mean, can you talk a little bit uh, about that kind of context and
Absolutely. Um, So they both are very powerful. Absolutely a phone call. I would say that in this day and age when less people are likely to call, a phone call does kind of pique people's interest a little more. It can be more powerful because you took the time to do that and you are connecting. Um, as you can see, that some of these tools have very much, like the one I'm showing you, have very much automated sending a letter or an email. And so people know that it just takes one click a lot of times, but a phone call is powerful because it takes more of your effort. And so it shows that you are more interested in the issue. So I agree, a phone call can be very powerful. Um, some of the common thinking before used to be like a handwritten letter, but they frankly take so long to go through the irradiation process and all that good stuff to get to your member that it takes kind of forever. So my number one recommendation, if you're really, if something's really important to you, absolutely is a phone call. That's a great question. Oh, I see in the chat. Can you share some of the successes that have come from your hard work? Absolutely. So last year, for instance, during Hill Day, and this is very specific, but it really stands out in my mind. We mentioned, we were tailoring our message to each office. And one of the things that we mentioned in a representative from California's office was that there are these centers for excellence, and her staffer wasn't really familiar with them. We were talking about what a center for excellence is and how they can be set up to create a skilled labor group in an area. And we mentioned that really one part of California was pretty ripe to have one for marine biology and for marine research. And they actually followed up with us. They were really interested in it, and then later added that into a bill, and that has been funded. And so they are establishing this Center for Excellence. And I don't know if that was solely from our efforts, but from the time it went from what is that, we've never heard of it, to being in a bill and funded was about 6 months. And so that was really cool, I thought, and a pretty big win for the labor market in that area of California. So yay. Some of the issues we work on, I will say, are huge. And we are, we're one of many voices, and it is a bigger effort. So that's kind of the easiest pinpoint that I can cite. But yeah, I think one of the biggest things that shows that what we're doing is working is that now we have many congressional offices that reach out to us to get our input and thoughts. They recognize us as a professional trade association, and that we are experts in the field. And so they'll ask us before they drop language in a bill, they'll ask us what we think of it, and for us to read through the bill when it's a draft, which is a huge one, as any advocate will tell you, to be able to influence at that stage. What else? Oh, here we go. What ethical considerations should we keep in mind when using data to influence policy? Well, that is a big question. That is definitely a big question. Um, a couple of things that we lean on is our primary source for information, of course, is any research that NCDA has funded. Um, that's one of the things that makes us really special, is not only are we a trade association, but also we fund our own research. So we have lots of great information to draw from our very talented researchers. The other thing is, my personal feeling on this is I always try to look for sources of data that are really recognized, that are nonpartisan, things like that. So for instance, one of the big visuals that we used last year on Hill Day was research from the Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development, the OECD. It's a global institution that many countries belong to, and it's very well respected. And they did a study on career development professionals and how much developed countries are funding this kind of work. And it showed that the United States was down around last place as far as how much funding we provide for career services. And that was very influential. When we showed that to folks on the Hill, they were pretty blown away by it. So things like that from respected sources obviously are going to lend much more credence. Also, as a as a nonpartisan organization, we look for nonpartisan sources that are ideally academic in basis. Great question. Sorry for the long answer. How to enroll or become an NCDA member for Indian people? Thank you so much, Melissa, for throwing that in. Absolutely. Anyone can go to ncda.org and take a look at the membership links and all that good stuff. There's lots of information on the website. What else can I answer? Or what does anyone else want to share a win they've had at the state level or wherever you're advocating? All right. Hearing none, but please do feel free to jump in. I'm so excited this many of us are interested in advocacy and that this many people want to learn more about it. Please do think about how you can get more involved through your state CDA if you'd like to get involved through the Government Relations Committee. And also check out these tools, please. Just to reiterate, I put the link to VoterVoice in the chat. So please feel free to take a look at that. You can use that as a research tool, which is pretty cool. Let us know if you want to receive any of these reports to keep you up to date on the latest. And also, this is a two-way street. So please do let us know if there is legislation, if there's rulemaking, anything else at the federal level that's important to you, and we will make it important to us as well. We're very happy to get information from our members. And so let's keep the conversation going, and please make sure that anything that you want to flag for us that you do. We meet every month as a committee. As I said, all of our committee Zoom links, dates, and times are on the website, and we would love to have anyone join who wants to. So for now, check out VoterVoice, take a look at some of the information that you can learn, and let me know if you'd like me to add you to our weekly email blast, and I'm very, very happy to do that. Oh, and I see Melissa just put the list of state CDA info in the chat and a couple of other things. So I'm going to pause here, just make sure there aren't any lingering questions. If anyone wants to shout anything out, this is especially important to them. All right, hearing none, I'm going to turn you back over to Melissa and potentially give you back 7 minutes of your day. Thank you all so much for joining for this important topic. I really appreciate your time.
Elle, thank you so much. That's super informative. We look forward to any updates you're going to provide to all the committees along the way and anything you might be doing at the conference in Atlanta as well. So thank you all for being here. I will be sending out the link to this recording and to Elle's PowerPoint presentation later on this afternoon. So watch for that. And we hope to see you at another NCDA webinar soon. So thanks again.
Thanks, everyone.